Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish. It's good to have you here today on a very, very big day because you see, they got a lot going down in Chicago. And a lot of it, I'm going to use a term that they seem to like, those liberals. It's really weird. Like, really, really weird. We're going to get into all of that. But I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of worry about one Mr. Joe Biden. One Mr. Joe Biden who might actually be packing his bags as we speak. We're going to get to that momentarily because someone spotted a U-Haul right outside the White House. What does that mean? Especially on a day when we have breaking news. The impeachment investigation has just been submitted by the GOP, and it's not looking good for Mr. Joe Biden, who may have raised as much as $27 million. $27 million. Can you imagine that? Vis-a-vis Hunter for his family. That is the allegation. And it's said to have been done because it was a foreign influence scheme, so to speak, in which the Biden family would receive compensation for certain, access. And you know what I mean by that. We're going to talk about it today coming up. Meanwhile, live right now, Donald Trump is actually speaking. So he's in Pennsylvania, talking to workers in Pennsylvania as they offer vasectomies, free vasectomies. I kid you not, in Chicago at the DNC. Wow. Okay, that's a new one. Lots to talk about today. I want to begin here on this investigation, everyone. Remind you to subscribe, to like, to share. I'm Trish. It's the Trish Regan Show. And we begin on this report coming out of those that were doing this investigation, the GOP coming forward with its findings here from the U.S. House of Representatives, all about that influence scheme that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden may have been peddling. That is the accusation, to the tune of $27 million. That's how much the Biden family was alleged to have made. Fox coming out with the report first thing.
This is a Fox News alert. All new this morning, House Republicans finding President Biden and his family received more than $27 million from foreign individuals and entities since 2014. Lawmakers call it an impeachable conduct. Brooke Singman is in Chicago with this story. Brooke, good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, Ainsley. I obtained a copy of this 292-page report from House Republicans. They're on the House Oversight, Judiciary, and Ways and Means committees, and they've been leading this impeachment inquiry against President Biden for months. So they said their investigation found that President Biden engaged in impeachable conduct and said he abused his office and, quote, defrauded the United States to enrich his family. Republicans revealed that since 2014, the Biden family and its associates received more than $27 million from foreign individuals and entities. They also found that while Biden was serving as vice president, the Biden family got more than $8 million in loans from Democratic benefactors. And they say those loans have not been repaid. So this report says, in part, quote, as vice president, President Biden actively participated in a conspiracy by, among other things, attending dinners with his family's foreign business partners and speaking to them by phone, often when being placed on speakerphone by Hunter Biden. Republicans are calling out a 2014 dinner that Hunter Biden and his father attended with a Russian oligarch. After that dinner, the oligarch wired $3.5 million to Hunter Biden's firm. Now, this report says, quote, several witnesses testified that Hunter Biden invoked his father in business dealings with Romanian, Chinese, Kazakhstani, and Ukrainian companies, resulting in millions of dollars flowing to the Biden family. They're also calling out Biden for his handling of classified documents. House Republicans are now calling for Biden to be impeached. Ainsley?
All right. Whoa! I mean, this guy had quite an operation going on. Now, keep in mind, at the time that his father was the vice president of the United States of America, he was the guy who was in charge of Ukraine policy. We have him on tape, Joe Biden, at a CFR, Council on Foreign Relations event, telling everyone how proud he was of how he got rid of that prosecutor, that corrupt prosecutor. That corrupt prosecutor was actually doing an investigation into none other than the now defunct, because it was corrupt, energy company, natural gas company called Burisma that was paying his son in the vicinity of $83,000 a month for a, quote, board job, which is, by the way, unheard of. Listen, I've covered business a long time. Nobody has an $83,000 a month board job. And the son got 2 of them, by the way, because his business partner was also being paid $83,000 a month by this company that was being investigated by this Ukrainian prosecutor that Joe Biden, as head of Ukraine policy, said, you got to get rid of. If you don't fire the guy, you know what? You're not going to get the money. You're not going to get all the money that Ukraine at the time needed from the United States. So what do you know? As he said, son of a, you know what? They fired the guy. You bet they did. And Hunter got his $83,000 a month. So it doesn't look good. Right? Like, can we just say, like, this does not look good, ladies and gentlemen? And so now this is coming forward, and this doesn't look good. So you have all this information as it pertains to the $27 million, and the allegations include money laundering. This is bad. This is the Oversights Committee that went and did this, and they're saying that basically this was a sort of pay-to-play influence type scheme. This is what they're alleging. They're calling it impeachable conduct. Obviously, it would be 292 pages. Wow. All coming out the day the whole DNC convention begins. So, of course, the other side's firing back, and they're saying, well, this is interesting timing, and you're just doing this for political reasons. I will say this, like, I was looking for this for some time, and it feels a little late to come now, especially given that Joe's no longer running. Although, you got to wonder, did they know? Democrats had to have known that this was coming forward, and was this part of what they did to push him aside? In other words, did Nancy Pelosi use this along with the failing polls to get him to move away? 292 pages, this impeachment inquiry that they have into none other than Joe Biden. The committee, they write, have accumulated evidence demonstrating that President Biden has engaged in impeachable conduct. Republicans now saying that there is, quote, overwhelming evidence that Biden participated in, quote, a conspiracy to monetize his office of public trust to enrich his family. And so they allege that the Biden family and the business associates are receiving tens of millions of dollars here, actually $27 million from foreign interests by, quote, leading those interests to believe that such payments would provide them access to and influence with President Biden. So that would mean you probably, Hunter, should have registered as a foreign lobbyist. Right? That's what Kellyanne Conway just did, because she's taking money from Ukraine to lobby on behalf of Ukraine with Republicans in Congress. And so that's what you do. I mean, if you're going to call daddy and say, hey, daddy, we need to get rid of this one prosecutor in Ukraine because he's looking into the company that I represent and I'm on the board of, you know what, you got to register as a foreign lobbyist. But Hunter never did that. That's a question. And actually, that hasn't come up with all the things they've gone after him for. I'm still waiting for that one to be the biggie. Because he should go away for, I mean, that's like espionage. Is it not? Like, I mean, if you're making money lobbying on behalf of these various companies and individuals to somehow influence U.S. policy, and it just came out, by the way, the other day, New York Times had a report on it, that in fact, Hunter was asking the State Department to pull some strings for him out of Italy in order to help one of his clients. And the Italian ambassador's like, whoa, I don't know if I feel so comfortable with this. I mean, this is a little awkward, right? You think? Yeah. But this is what the son, Hunter, was engaged in. The question then became, how much did Joe Biden know? And according to this 292-page report, he knew a lot and he understood exactly what was going on. I'm going to quote, as vice president, President Biden actively participated in his conspiracy by, among other things, attending dinners with his family's foreign business partners and speaking to them by phone, often when being placed on speakerphone by Hunter Biden. You know, I love it. You know, the Democrats are like, oh, no. This is just what happens. You know, you just call dad and say hi in front of all the clients at a dinner. And in some cases, you see, after these calls happened, what do you know? Money changed hands. In fact, Republicans reference a report in 2014, a dinner that Biden attended with his son, none other than Hunter, and Russian oligarch Yelena Baturina. After the dinner, Yelena Baturina wired $3.5 million to Hunter Biden's firm, Rosemont Seneca Thornton, according, again, to this documentation. And people are saying, well, wait, are these two things connected? Certainly feels that way, certainly seems that way. And so is this, in fact, the proof? Now, I have to read all 292 pages, so I'm going to have a very big night. I'm going to be watching the DNC and I'm going to have my 292-page report from the U.S. House of Representatives to really go through this more thoroughly. But I can tell you, it doesn't look good. I've said this all along. I mean, what about the Chinese billionaire, right, that suddenly disappeared, now defunct energy company that he ran, and he was trying to get some inroads in with none other than Hunter Biden, and one would assume Joey? And what did he do at one point? When Hunter Biden was in the middle of his divorce, he brought him a diamond. He actually physically gave him a diamond at a dinner in Florida. I mean, that's kind of weird. That's an interesting payment in kind, I suspect. So going on with the report, it says, based on the totality of evidence, it is inconceivable that President Biden did not understand that he was taking part in an effort to enrich his family by abusing his office of public trust. Not to mention the $8 million from the benefactors to the Democrat Party when they lent the money to Joe and he never bothered to repay it back. There's some weird stuff going on. The Democrats obviously feel very differently, and they're calling this a stunt, and they're saying it's failed. Quote, this failed stunt will only be remembered for how it became an embarrassment that their own members distanced themselves from as they only managed to turn up evidence that refuted their false and baseless conspiracy theories. Listen, I'm going to tell you one thing. If nothing else, everybody ought to admit, let's just be honest with each other. It is not appropriate for the son of the vice president in charge of Ukraine policy to have a job with an energy company that needs the blessing of the United States of America, that wants the U.S. on its side, to hire him. Now, I'm not saying the guy can't make a living, but let's go make an honest living, Hunter. How about that? Maybe you ought to register as a foreign lobbyist. But you see, he couldn't do that because Barack Obama actually forbade. He said, nope, nobody's going to be a foreign lobbyist in this administration. I don't want any of my cabinet members with family members out collecting fees based off of this theory or assumption or sort of the look and feel that you might have influence. So Barack was preventing that from happening. Hunter did it anyway. And now it's all coming out. It's all coming out. You better believe it. And I think he's going to be in a whole lot of trouble. I really do. Hey, remember to subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. Tell me what you think. Should the president resign over this? He might actually resign. I mean, he really and truly might actually have to resign. There may not be a choice as I look at what's going on right now. A new report suggesting that there's trouble ahead. There's trouble, so much trouble ahead, that as we get ready for the whole DNC thing to go, do what it's doing this week, there's a U-Haul truck outside the White House. What do you think of that, guys? I mean, is the president finally going to get the boot? That's the question that they're asking here. This is Trump War Room on Twitter. New U-Haul moving trucks are parked outside the White House today, hours before Biden's planned farewell address to the DNC. Are they finally giving Biden the permanent boot? It's a question in light of what we've just learned, in light of this report just coming out. The Republicans saying $27 million went to the Biden family in a kind of foreign influence scheme, and that Joe Biden knew about it all along. I'll tell you, Joe's not too happy. He is one unhappy fellow right now because this was supposed to be his big night, right? His big week. He was supposed to be the focus, the center of attention, and what do you know? This lady, this little upstart came in, Kamala Harris, and stole all of it away from him. Now, if I were him, I would have been leery about her from the start. I mean, after all, consider what she did to him way back when at the 2020 Democrat debate, when she went up one side and down the other and accused him of being racist. It was really, really hard to watch. And that was actually the undoing of Kamala Harris at the time, because the Democrat Party was like, wait a second, who is this lady? Who is this lady? I ask you that too, because, she does one thing or says one thing and then we get another. But I'm going to hold her at her word. And I'm going to assume that she is the communist she keeps presenting herself to be. I'm also going to remember that she's had 3.5 years to actually right the ship, right? What about the border? What about inflation? What has happened in those last 3.5 years? She was the casting vote, right, in the whole Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, she's actually, which is just so funnily named, Inflation Reduction Act. It actually contributed to mass inflation like upwards of 30% that we've experienced. And then in certain sectors, it's even worse. So why would we ever give her another shot? I don't know. I mean, I certainly wouldn't. I hope people are not so dumb as to actually give Kamala Harris the time of day, or this guy for that matter. But after all, they did elect him. This is the one that had the little fling with Fang Fang. This is the BF of Flang Flang. Fang Fang. How, getting that one mixed up. Eric Swalwell, he's the representative from California, making the rounds on cable news, trying to pitch Kamala as the future because, the last 3.5 years have been so terrific.
Well, it's deep gratitude that we're all going to show because under Joe Biden's leadership, our children will feed their families with jobs he created. They'll drive on roads that he built. They'll power their devices with chips that he manufactured. And also, it's not just the jobs that he created, it's also the job that he left for Kamala Harris, a job that she's going to finish as she takes on inflation with an economy that's going to work for work.
Okay. How do you like this graphic? This is what Trump tweeted out today and put on Truth Social as well. I think this is fantastic because here's the reality, guys, okay? Oh, we're so proud of the Harris-Biden record. You got to be kidding me. You're not proud of it. You shouldn't be proud of it because, if you're proud of this, then we got other problems to talk about. Gasoline up 51%, electricity up 32%, airfare up 23%, groceries up 22%. Oh my gosh, rent up 22%, eggs up 47%, car insurance up 54%, K through 12 food, I guess this is food in schools, up 66%. Guess what? Wages are not even close. So when you look at something they like to talk about in economics called the misery index, and it's really high right now. People feel really miserable, and they feel miserable because this is the inflation they're confronting, but they're not making more money. It's really messed up. And this is on them. So why on earth would we give this woman another shot, given what she did? I do think that this is where Donald Trump has all the strength. This is why some polls, like the Rasmussen one and even the Fox News one, are showing him ahead. I realize these pollsters can kind of ask whatever they want, and they massage the polls to help Kamala because that is the world in which we live, and that is where the media is right now. They want to help Kamala Harris because they want to make sure that she gets elected. Don't forget, there's a lot of media money at stake. There's a lot at stake in terms of certain people and certain influence, and they're worried if he gets in there that he's going to, call him out. I would say this. Journalists did not go to jail under Donald Trump. They were not intimidated at their homes by the IRS under Donald Trump. They were not spied upon by Donald Trump. Granted, he might call them out to their face. That has happened. Sure, that happened under Donald Trump. But there was no one behind the scenes actually spying on them in their email. And by the way, that happened under both Barack Obama and Joe Biden. I know two reporters that I have worked with, Cheryl Atkinson and James Rosen, Cheryl at CBS, James at Fox, and both of them had their computers basically broken into by the likes of the Obama administration. And then along comes Joe Biden, and again, journalists were under fire. You had Matt Taibbi, who used to be pretty liberal, but I guess maybe, he's come to his senses, shall we say. He used to write for Rolling Stone. Now he's over on Substack. And Matt had the IRS showing up on his doorstep. Why? Because he had access to the so-called Twittergate files, which proved just exactly what Deep State was doing there with Twitter. And so one can only assume it was some kind of intimidation tactic that the IRS showed up on his doorstep on the very day that Matt was set to testify before Congress. And so when they say, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much better under the likes of Kamala Harris, I point you, one, to what was going on in terms of the economy and what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have done to our economy. And I point you, two, to all this business about, oh my gosh, he's going to destroy the world. He's going to destroy our democracy. He's going to destroy this, that, and the other. You're not going to have any freedom of speech. Let me just tell you, you had a heck of a lot more than you do in this moment in time because of the intimidation. Not to mention, hey, I love it. They keep accusing Donald Trump of fake news. You want to know who has the fake headlines? Kamala Harris, actually taking the graphics of news organizations and putting new headlines in and then buying ads. And in small letters, it says it's sponsored. Listen, the average person wouldn't know that that's an ad. They just wouldn't. You kind of have to kind of be in the business, in the know, to actually know that. So the question now becomes, are they really, American voters, are they really going to vote for the woman who brought them so much in the way of challenges? I hope not. And again, I would just say that I think that some of the polls that you've seen are clouded by this so-called honeymoon effect, right? That's why you got to be able to actually sort of cut through the noise, if you would. It's one of the reasons why I started the financial website that I did start, 76 Research. I'm just going to put the graphic up here for you. Hopefully you can see it. We didn't mean for it to cover me, but anyway, we have a special right now, sort of a back-to-school special that I wanted to tell you about, called Code Dollar, DOLLAR. And I really, really encourage you, because there's so much noise out there as far as the economy goes, as far as markets go, as far as investing goes. So I encourage you to go over to 76 Research, take a look, sign up for the 76 report. I'm doing you this favor, right? Like, I created it with all of you guys in mind. Plus, we've got this code word dollar, DOLLAR. So all it costs is $1. I think it's for the first 2 months, and then it goes to $9.95 a month. And this is the best $9.95 you'll ever spend, the best dollar you'll ever spend, just to try it out. And if nothing else, you get to see the 4 stocks that we recently picked. We also have model portfolios there. You can get all of the model portfolios plus the 76 report if you become a member of our Founders Club. I encourage you to check it out today. I don't know how Americans are actually going to vote this woman in. I think that, people are not that dumb. I think the Democrats actually think they're dumb. But the truth is, people are a lot smarter than they want to believe, which is why when she talks like this, I think people are going to call the bluff.
This election, I do strongly believe, is about 2 very different visions for our nation. One, ours, focused on the future, and the other, focused on the past. We see that contrast clearly in many ways, including when it comes to how we think about the economy. So our country has come a long way since President Biden and I took office. At that time, we sadly remember the millions of Americans that were out of work. We were facing one of the worst economic crises in modern history. And today, by virtually every measure, our economy is the strongest in the world.
Oh, please, you should be, Kamala. We are the world's hegemonic power. We are the United States of America. Thank you very much. We're always the strongest, for goodness sakes.
We have created 16 million new jobs. We have made historic investments in infrastructure, in chips manufacturing, in clean energy. And new numbers this week alone show that inflation is down under 3%.
2.9% hasn't been there since March 2021. It's cumulative, Kamala.
And as President of the United States, it will be my intention to build on the foundation.
Oh my gosh. Do you really want a continuation of what we had? I mean, anybody who tells you they want to vote for Kamala, you just have to say, are you high? Honestly, you want a continuation of what we've had. And by the way, let me just be very, very clear. Ladies and gentlemen, it will be worse. It will be worse because she wants to give a $25,000 tax credit for all new homeowners. First-time homeowners, I should point out. First-time homeowners. So what is the surest way to make sure that housing becomes less affordable? Given that it's already skyrocketing, moving higher than inflation, you get the government involved, you offer crazy incentives, and now you've just raised the cost by at least $25,000 for any new homeowner. They're giving out free money. It's the exact same thing they did with the whole college loan things. And by the way, they want you to pay. And it gets even better because she's not just all about first-time homeowners. Oh, there's going to be a sweetener if you happen to be a first-time home owner that's also like generationally your family's first home. So that's directed all the people coming into the country. She wants to target the migrant population and say, hey, I'm really going to make it nice for you. I mean, this is really, really, really irresponsible stuff. So the $25,000 home credit And then she's got all these grand ideas. She's going to refute the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, she's going to fight them because how dare they? How dare they not back her plan to pay for all those student loans? I mean, this woman's kind of crazy. And then don't even get me started on the price controls. By the way, Rob and I from 76 Research, go check out at 76 Research on YouTube. We did this the other day on Friday. We talked all about this. Nixon tried it, actually. So you know what? We don't have to be political about it. Nixon tried it in 1971. None other than Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld. They led the whole thing for price controls. And guess what happened? We got more and more inflation. Carter had to confront that. He had a miserable time. And lo and behold, eventually Reagan came in. And it was tough for Reagan. The S&P sunk when Reagan came in there because what did you have the Fed doing? The Fed was moving aggressively to up interest rates. But Reagan knew, along with the Fed director at the time, that this was important. You had to do it, right? Because inflation was too out of control. Anyway, this woman thinks that she can come in with her magic wand and suddenly force all these grocery companies, et cetera, to lower food prices. That's not how it works, Kamala. They're going to shut down. They're not going to be in business unless they can make money, and you're the one that drove prices higher to begin with. Heck, even the New York Times is calling this one out. New York Times columnist David Brooks, he's a little more right of center than a lot of their columnists, so we give him credit for being that. But anyway, he's calling it out. He's like, this is the most stupid thing I've ever heard. I mean, really stupid. She is financially illiterate. You can imagine the PBS people didn't like that when you called Kamala financially illiterate. But David is absolutely right. I want you to hear him as he describes how insane it would be if we were to ever put in place Kamala's ridiculous price controls.
And Catherine had a good line that if your opponent is calling you a communist, maybe don't lead with price controls. And so price controls just create shortages, they create black markets. We've seen it happen in Venezuela, we've seen it happen in the Soviet Union. Price controls just don't work. What's worse about that, first, it's trying to address a problem that does not exist. Grocery prices, inflation has been less than 1% for the past year. It's over. We had a surge, but it's over. The problem does not exist. But the real core problem is it expresses a level of economic illiteracy, which is kind of surprising in a responsible Democratic candidate. The idea behind greedflation is that we had all these years of low inflation under Obama and under Bush's, and I guess people weren't greedy then. And then Biden gets in, and suddenly, magically, they all get greedy and start price gouging. And they do it at Kroger's, at Harris Teeter, at H-E-B. Suddenly, there's this mass of price gouging, and she thinks she can prosecute it. That's not why inflation surged. Inflation surged because we had a pandemic, which screwed up supply chains and productivity. Then the Biden administration overstimulated the economy, too many dollars chasing too few goods. Obama administration officials Larry Summer and Jason Furman said at the time, this is going to cause inflation. Lo and behold, it did. The Fed has to clamp down on growth, raising everybody's interest payments. That's what caused inflation. That's solid basic economics. Her greedflation plan is somewhere off, outside of normal economics.
Very well said, David Brooks. Really crystallizing it there. Reminder to subscribe to this channel and this program. I'm telling you, it's really off in left field. Like so far off in left field, like you're getting into Russia territory. Forgive me, USSR territory, Venezuela territory, communist Cambodia territory. I mean, this is really crazy. I mean, look, it's been tried, it's been done in the 1930s and then the early 70s. Everybody thinks that they can somehow fix this. But the problem is, you see, corporations, they need to be in business. They actually need to make money. And guess what, Kamala? When you cut off the energy supplies, such as you did with natural gas in Russia, and you put in all of those different penalties for having any kind of natural gas come in from Russia, then guess what? You drive up energy prices. You drive up gas prices. You drive up oil prices. Of course, you drive up nat gas prices. And consequently, it costs more to get any goods from point A to point B. Larry Summers actually did a great job warning about this. He said, look, you know what? That when this economy reopens, it's going to be game on. Everybody's going to be anxious to go out and travel and do things and this, that, and the other. He said it's going to be like Nantucket, you know, after the winter, or Paris after August. Everybody's going to come racing back and they're going to want to spend. And you will have too many dollars chasing too few goods. But Kamala Harris, she either doesn't understand that or she's just a purely political animal. I think Kamala Harris does whatever works for Kamala Harris. And if this is what she thinks is going to play in Peoria, she doesn't care She doesn't care that it's irresponsible. She doesn't care that it won't work. All she cares about is seeming like she cares. Watch her on price controls.
As Attorney General in California, I went after companies that illegally increased prices, including wholesalers that inflated the price of prescription medication, and companies that conspired with competitors to keep prices of electronics high. I won more than $1 billion for consumers. So believe me, as president, I will go after the bad actors. And I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gauging on food. My plan will include new penalties for opportunistic companies that exploit crises and break the rules, and we will support smaller food businesses that are...
Okay, she's acting like this is new. Guys, monopolies are not legal. So yes, if companies are conspiring with one another to set prices, guess what? You would go after them. But that's not actually what is happening. What is happening is that it costs more money. Rob and I did this research recently over at 76, and we looked at this so-called shrinkflation, which is a big giant joke. That's not actually happening. That is just politically expedient for the likes of Kamala Harris or even Joe Biden to talk about. But when you look at the margins at the actual company, they've been squeezed because they pay more for labor, they pay more for gas, they pay more for everything. Everything's going up. Why? Because of you idiots. You've had 3.5 years. We don't want to give you any more.
To play by the rules and get ahead. We will help the food industry become more competitive because I believe...
Oh my God, like I can't even watch it anymore. She really is just a political animal or a moron. I mean, it could be a combination of both because honestly, it's difficult, right? And I see so many of your comments, you guys are like, I can't watch her anymore. I can't watch her. I can't take it. I can't take it. I can't take it. You know, no, we can't take it. We can't take it. She's just not bright. Not bright. Why would you have someone who is not bright in the position where they are going to be the president of the United States? I mean, we're dealing with that already with Joe Biden. Joe Biden was not bright and he was too old. And now you're going to put in his quote-unquote disciple, the woman who is his VP. Trump gets it. Listen, the guy worked in business his whole life. He gets that she's absolutely nuts on the economy. And what she's talking about is straight out of the USSR's playbook. And he also has a brand new nickname for Kamala Harris. And I think this one's going to stick.
Kamala went full communist. You heard that? She went full communist. She wants to destroy our country. After causing catastrophic inflation, Comrade Kamala announced that she wants to institute socialist price controls. You saw that. Never worked before, never ever worked. This is the Maduro plan, Venezuela. Maduro plan of like the old Soviet Union. They tried it. How did the Soviet Union work out? It became Russia, a smaller version. It was a smaller version. It will cause rationing, hunger, and skyrocketing prices, just like their Inflation Reduction Act caused, one of the great scams of all time. They got it approved with a beautiful name, Inflation Reduction, because inflation under their system has been so bad. It's gone up much more than 50%. You know, they say 30, 40, 50, much more. People are being devastated. They're being devastated.
He's right. Comrade Kamala. Did you get that? I like that. I like that. I think that's going to stick. This Kamalomics, or whatever you want to refer to it as, is straight out of Venezuela or the USSR's playbook. And it's actually really dangerous for America. So between what she wants to do with housing, what she wants to do with food prices, what she wants to do with education, Kamala Harris will quite possibly turn us into Venezuela sooner than you would think. Much sooner than you would think. And I think that we need to be worried about that. We need to be thoughtful about that. We don't want that. We want somebody who actually has already had a proven track record of success. Guess what? Whether you like it or not, median incomes under the Donald Trump administration, they climbed the most in some 50 years. You got to go all the way back to JFK to see anything like this. We need growth for America's middle class. We don't just need to, okay, growth for the bottom. We're going to keep you down. We're going to give you handouts. We're going to make costs move up. But you know what? You'll get a handout just like Maduro gives in Venezuela. So you ought to be okay. Just keep voting for us. That's not going to fly. We're living in kind of a weird, I call it an hourglass economy, right? Where they keep squeezing the middle class. And you got a lot on top that keep donating to the likes of Kamala Harris. And you know, they're there for their good cause to keep the money flowing for them. And then those on the bottom, you just keep giving them stuff on the bottom in hopes that they're going to turn up at the polls. And you don't care about the middle class. Well, I care about the middle class. Those are Trump people. Wow. Well, this is what everyone, poor, middle, rich, has had to deal with under the Biden-Harris administration. Gasoline up 51%, electricity up 32%, food, groceries up 22%, eggs up 47%, car insurance up 54%. Listen, guys, this is not sustainable, okay? It is not sustainable. And Kamala's not going to be able to wave a magic wand and make it go away. She's not. And so you got to be looking out for yourself. I keep saying this. Look out for yourself. Go to 76research.com, type in code word dollar, get the research, get the stock picks. It's important. Code word dollar, DOLLAR, introductory rate at 76 Research. Have you guys seen the big party that they are having at the DNC? I mean, it's kind of wild. They got a lot of protests going on for sure. Lots and lots of protests. And then they've got little freebies that they're offering. I can't believe I'm even saying this. Vasectomies. Anybody want a vasectomy? Kamala's giving them out free. You can go to the little trailer and have a snip away. I mean, unbelievable. They think this is good marketing. Well, Benny Johnson, our friend Benny Johnson over the Benny Show, is having, I should say, a whole lot of fun with this. Take a look at this clip from Benny.
Are you going to be getting a free vasectomy at the DNC?
No.
They're offering free vasectomies, but they're on a bus.
On the bus?
Yeah.
But I'm going to walk in right here. I'm going to be here for 4 days.
Oh, so you're working here? So you could get a discount. 2 for 1. Have you cashed in on your free vasectomy, sir?
Not yet.
No?
No, not yet.
Good luck. Thanks, boys. All right.
Get in the front of the line for those vasectomies.
Yeah, yes. No. All right. Popular, they're going like hotcakes at the DNC.
I like myself intact.
Okay. All right.
Snip. You have no idea the physical toll the 3 vasectomies have on.
Please subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And what do you think? I mean, talking about weird. They're going to offer you a free vasectomy if you go to the DNC convention. Woohoo! And guess what? It gets to happen in a big old trailer. I thought I was seeing things this morning. I really did. When this crossed on Twitter, Planned Parenthood offering all free vasectomy and medication abortions are filled for our mobile health clinic in Chicago. Check back soon. We will share the interest form link again if we have cancellations. So they're sold out of these things. I mean, wow. That's some party that they got going down there in Chicago right now. What's this about? Really? I mean, I get it, family planning and all that. Family planning is very important to Kamala. We had her on tape the other day. I showed it on, was it Wednesday or Thursday show? The soundbite of her saying that, you know, the way to manage the whole green thing is to have less population so that people can, you know, run out in open fields and stuff. I'm, whoa. You actually, okay, and I'm going to say this from an economic standpoint, you actually need more people. You need more people. And the answer is not to just open the border. The answer is to actually have families that want to have families, right? Here in the U.S., unbelievable stuff, but, you know, hey, it's Kamala Harris we're talking about. That should scare everyone. It scares me. You know, everybody's so woke these days, but the wokeness, eventually comes back to haunt you. Harley Davidson, learning this the hard way. The CEO over at Harley, again, like facing just all these bad headlines. Here's one from the Daily Mail. Harley Davidson faces fresh controversy that could kill motorcycle company after being blasted over woke DEI diktats. Go woke, go broke, as they say. We saw what happened to Bud Light. I mean, they still have not recovered from what happened to Bud Light. The advantage maybe Harley has is that they kind of have sort of a lock on that market. I don't know. You guys tell me. I mean, really, I can't think of an iconic American motorcycle company other than Harley Davidson. But they're squandering that. They're squandering it because they're now sending jobs to Thailand. You get some workers that are really, really upset about that, while simultaneously pushing this woke BS that's really getting them in trouble. There's a new headline out today. This is in the New York Post that really suggests this CEO is off his rocker, if you ask me. Here we go. This is the Harley Davidson CEO talking about or equating something with the Taliban. Yes, and comparing himself to the Taliban in this newly surfaced speech as the brand is accused of going woke. What? Okay, like that was my expression. So this is this guy, Johann Zeitz. Mr. Zeitz is a former sustainability leader there at Harley Davidson, because all great CEOs come from the sustainability department, right? Wrong. Anyway, Johann Zeitz from Germany. Totally interesting observation that the super American motorcycle company decided to hire a German guy. He said, imagine standing in front of CEOs of luxury brands that now think you are the sustainable Taliban, as someone once called me. This is Mr. Zeitz speaking in Zermatt at a summit in Switzerland back in 2020. And he's referencing his time as board member of Kering, the parent company of Gucci, Puma, and Stella McCartney. So like he's all about sustainability, right? That was actually the first gig that he got. He was the sustainability chair when he came first to Harley Davidson. And then a few minutes later, right in the same speech, Mr. Zeitz referenced the terror group again, as shown in a video that Robbie Starbuck shared last week. So Robbie Starbuck, if you don't know him, he's an influencer, and he kind of has this company a little bit in his sights right now, which is really bad news for Mr. Zeitz, because Robbie's out there saying, okay, which woke company is doing crazy things? It's going to be bad for shareholders. And you know what? He's right to do that, because you got to call it out. I don't believe in just calling out anybody. But when they're doing things that actually are bad for the company and bad for the brand, somebody should be paying attention to it. You know, if it was working the other way, everybody would be paying attention to it. So the guy went on to say, of course, Harley's all about the sound and the smell of Harley Davidson, isn't it? So I became the Taliban again in a sustainable way. I mean, this is weird. Why does he keep referencing that? It's not appropriate. Do you think so? So this guy, Mr. Zeitz, is in a little trouble. Because it's not just that. It's also this soundbite from an interview where he talks all about his DEI being his baby, and he had a chance to reshape American culture if he took the CEO of Harley Davidson job, and that's why he took it. Well, sorry, we don't need you. We don't need you, Mr. Germany, reshaping our culture. And shareholders don't need you over at Harley Davidson. Here.
No more to do some commercials for us, and the slogan was United We Ride. And we launched it just as we started to manufacture again, and that was sort of our comeback as a company into the world, opening our factories again and bringing everybody as diverse as we could possibly be as a business and a brand, and celebrate diversity and inclusion. And that's one of the reasons why I took the job, is because I believe in an incredible American icon, and the transformation and the opportunity to contribute positively to a very divisive society. I believe that business and philanthropy and working together can make a significant impact, and I realize that politicians and politics can only do so much, and often they don't. But business can be a significant force for good, and not just because it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing also for the business itself. So being inclusive, I think, is a critical component.
Yeah. It's like everything, right? Inclusivity is everything. critical component, except that what happens when it doesn't really help your company? What happens when it really takes off? The people that buy your products, and that's what's starting to happen. And so the company's in a bad spot. Series of things have gone on, right? They've moved jobs to Thailand. They've required dealerships, of which the dealers would argue there are too many. They've required these dealerships to have all kinds of spiffy upgrades, and they've saturated them, from the dealer's viewpoint, with way too many bikes. And the dealers can't sell this many bikes, and they can't do all these improvements. And so now the CEO has had to back off those plans, and he's saying, okay, no, you don't have to make these improvements in 2025, and we will stop sending you so many bikes to sell. Now, the company's profitability has been okay because he's found ways basically to put it on the dealers. So that's not very good because, you know, your dealers are kind of in this revolt, and the dealers are like, I don't want to do this. It's just like, you know, if you squeeze their profitability, they're not going to keep their store open anymore. There's a little lesson in here for Kamala Harris, because if you squeeze the profitability of companies so much so that they can't turn a profit, then they're not going to actually want to be in business anymore. So the woke stuff, it's going too far. It's going too far, ladies and gentlemen. You know it. I know it. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share. Make sure you like all of those good things. Let me know whether you've ever driven a Harley Davidson, whether there is another kind of Harley out there. Did you see this? Did you see this game?
One of our favorite games here. It's Piggy Bank's Deal or No Deal.
Wow. Really, really, really impressive. Cailtin Clark painting a, quote, masterpiece, as The Athletic calls it, one of the New York Times publications, for Fever's win over Mercury. Incredible, incredible stuff. You know what? I've told you before, like I was never really that into basketball. I'm still not really into basketball, in fairness, but I actually enjoy watching her. She's pretty darn good. She got something like 29 points in this game. It's incredible. And they're saying this is art. Like this is, quote, art. They're talking about a fan who couldn't contain himself. The Indiana Pacers star who was sitting courtside Friday at Gainbridge Fieldhouse wasn't just watching basketball. He was watching art. So I wonder, is she okay to be in the Olympics now? Are they going to let her? Or is she still that girl that is unnecessarily getting lots of attention because of the way she looks and because she's different than some of the other players? Really crazy, but that's, of course, the allegation, and that's what we've been having to hear on The View a little too much, a little too many times. Anyway, this is really incredible. I mean, so this is what Ty's referring to here, basically just how incredible a player she is, that it is a kind of art. And so I just keep saying, well, then when is she going to be treated fairly? Can you imagine if this were reversed? Can you imagine if she hadn't been able to go to the Olympics and this were reversed and it was, say, Angie Reese? Like, people would really be angry. Well, understandably, everybody should be angry because this woman's the best in the league and she's beaten every single record. The men too, okay? Like she's beaten every single record. And she's changing the sport sort of single-handedly because little girls are now saying, oh, you know, maybe I could be a basketball player one day. Maybe we shouldn't wish that on them, but nonetheless, I mean, this is amazing. 22 years old, and she just keeps scoring. Let me share with you just what went down here. She scored or assisted actually on 17 points in the first quarter, one more point than the Mercury scored as a team. Clark was doing what she wanted, according to The Athletic, nailing deep threes, converting and one layups and dishing out passes as if she has a sixth sense. She finished the night with 29 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds, and she's reached the 25-point, 10 assist threshold twice in her last 5 games. Like this is, and they said she wasn't ready. She wasn't ready for the Olympics. This girl's ready. Like, has she ever been so ready? She is dynamite. And if it weren't for some jealous, very jealous people, and they've made that clear over and over again, you know what? She would have gone. So unfortunate for Cailtin Clark, she didn't have that opportunity, but hopefully by the time the next one rolls around, things will be fixed. It's good to have you here. I really love that you're here. This is a whole new medium, right? There's so much going on right now in that we can talk to each other directly, and it's a big part of what we do here in this show. And I do see your comments in real time, so I'm just taking a look at some of them. Craig, good to have you here. Mike, very, very good to have you here. I see you back, Mike Costa. I'm just going to scroll down because I see a whole lot of them here, which is terrific. We have so many people tuning into the live program. You know, I see a lot of people here are Trump fans, and look, I get it. I think, you know, you burn me once, shame on me. You burn me twice. Or, sorry, I got that backwards. You burned me once, shame on you. You burned me twice, shame on me. And so if America actually votes for her, like, I almost don't know what to say to people. I mean, I think this is wild that she's even seeing the light of day in some of these polls. And I really question the polls. I mean, you go to the Rasmussen one, he's actually way ahead. So that makes more sense to me because I think people have memories and I think they know what things were like. I really do. Rick, good to have you here. Scott, Fred, Joey, Cailtin Clark, that's a clever name. And Peace of My Mind. Hey, Peace of My Mind, you're right. We're 340,000 subs here and still counting. And what's amazing about all of this, guys, is that this is being done with no outside marketing, no outside anything, right? We're just doing this here, you and me together. And I love it. And I'm committed to it, and you're committed to it, and that's what makes it work. The authenticity is real. No outside marketing, just you and me, and you sharing this and liking it and commenting and all of that. It all adds up after a while. So thank you for being here. I'm going to be back with you live on the show again tomorrow. I just want to remind you, go to 76 Research, go sign up, code word $, right? You cannot beat that. Code word $. It's a really good deal, DOLLAR, and I will see you again tomorrow.